And welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
Matt Murray.
Hello.
And special guest, Tamoor Hussain. Hello, Tamoor.
Hello.
Fan favourite, Tamoor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we were talking about, Sean's off, everyone was going, Tamoor. And I was like, hold on. Let's
That's all my alt accounts. That's just me.
Are you all over Discord on various different devices? Trying to get a game of Mario Kart. Should we get straight? We've got so much to talk about tonight. So let's just get straight into it. We'll go straight into the
too
feedback.
Much, but go on.
Yeah, there is a little bit to talk about, isn't there? Matt, let's go straight into the feedback.
Straight in there. Last week, Dave, you were talking about Rocket League on Switch, or we all were, and I think you said you were worried about the player count. Athene pipes up saying, Dave need not worry about the Rocket League player base on Switch. It's cross-platform.
Yeah, I knew that. I don't know why I was moaning about that. Okay, next.
SMW, I think Dave Turners makes a great point in the Cage/trailer debate. People throwing all the blame on Cage for picking that scene as though Sony and Quantic Dream's own marketing teams had no input whatsoever. Yeah, it wasn't all David Cage for sure. It was.
What did you make of all that, Tamoor? Did you have any opinions on what they showed of Detroit?
Yeah. I have strong opinions. Like, I wrote an interview, with him, straight after that trailer went out, basically. Like, I was the first person to interview him, and you can read my interview on Gamespot.com. But yeah, I took him to task for it, and I tried to be balanced and measured about it, but like, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't feel anything about it, because I did feel something about it in that moment. I was in a room where, one of their guys was demoing the game, and there was a moment where it kind of really hit me that I was uncomfortable about it. I'm fine with this stuff, and I can see it in context and that kind of stuff, but there was this moment where, when the father goes upstairs to find the daughter, and Kara has to push through the Mind Palace or whatever it's called, and then go upstairs. So in our demo, he went into the first room on his left and started exploring the room, looking for the gun, which is in the drawer. But while he was doing that, you can hear the dad in the distance, like, shouting at his daughter, and you can hear the girl screaming. And at that point, I was like, this is very odd. Like, how do you kind of encourage exploration at the same time as, there's a girl screaming in the corner of the room. And on top of that, like, the writing and that kind of stuff, like, this is all me bringing my own baggage to it, but I don't like Heavy Rain. I think it's a very poorly written game. I don't like Beyond. I think it's incredibly bad game. I don't have faith in David Cage I'm in old David Cage. It's been a while since, he's released a game, so maybe he's developed. But in the interview, I asked him where his kind of like, what his goal was, and he didn't really have a goal. I asked him what he was drawing upon. He himself said, he draws from experience, and he finds something deep inside to try and, draw upon for his writing and to bring, those emotions to the game. So I asked him what it was inside him or what experience he was drawing upon, and he said he didn't have any. And that's like, those are alarm bells to me. Having said that, I'm willing to, for now, give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't believe it's wrong that he's tackling these issues. I think it's important that games tackle these issues, and I think that he has a right to do it, but I just am skeptical of whether he can do it with any sort of nuance given his past work. But like I said, I'm completely open to him, like, trying it, and in best case scenario, and I hope that is the case, he turns it around and he pulls out this amazing game that's really smartly written, and it's heartfelt, and it's powerful and nuanced and amazing in every way possible. And a few months or next year, we're like to remember how they absolutely knocked it out of the park with Detroit. That's my hope.
So I know this is a weird question, but how was he? When I read the interview on Eurogamer, he seemed like really defensive and uptight and not willing to really go into, all right, that, as we said last week, that interview was a little bit leading and it seemed to be an agenda behind it. But he still seemed very snappy and sort of coming. But were you surprised when you read the responses on that interview, or did it feel like the same person you spoke to earlier?
It didn't, no. He was, I kind of like, when I spoke to him, I tried to approach it from both sides. Like, if I asked a question that I felt was kind of, not harsh, but, putting his back up against the wall, I demanded an answer. I felt compelled to try and look at it again from the other side and try and see his perspective on it and ask him a question or kind of invite him to provide his take on it. I wasn't as hard on him as perhaps that Eurogamer interview was. And I think if you read my interview, even though his answers weren't satisfactory to me as someone who's trying to figure out whether he's capable of writing that stuff, he's a little more balanced, he's a little more level-headed, and you can see that he's doing his best to try and justify his game and his writing. The David Cage that was in Eurogamer's interview was a different Eurogamer and a David Cage, and I can only speculate why that is.
They sitting in front of people, possibly questioning every aspect of the game. No, I'm not saying that's unique to him. And people are attacking him. It's like you hear about these film stars that get sick of sitting in interviews all day and then they flip out towards the end, and that's the one that spreads everywhere.
Sure.
Maybe it's that. I don't know. Yeah. It's gonna be weird. I'm interested in the game, but as I say, I have my own worries about it. Okay, fine. Next, Matt.
I'm more looking forward to watching James squirm his way through it when he streams it eventually. The Shend pipes up. I'd like to chime in on the discussion around the Grimm showcases exhibited by Detroit Become Human and Last of Us 2 from Paris Games Week, as I think I understand and even agree where Farley was coming from, but unlike most academics at the top of their game, he can't communicate.
See, I hate the way, right, that there's just always these caveats, and then it's just ridiculous, because what he said is exactly what I said, and also pretty much what Tamoor has just said as well. It's just, go on, read it. It's ridiculous.
For the record, James, I agreed with you.
Okay, thank you.
How? He didn't make a point.
I didn't
make
a point.
With someone who doesn't make a point.
Are you joking?
Let's not.
Go on.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure his point was clear if you guys would stop shouting over him.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. It's James Farley. It's what he's here for. If we didn't shout over him, he might as well just not be on the show. What's the point? What's the point?
You didn't expect me to be the James Farley Defence Force, did you?
No, my opinion has gone way down of Tamoor. Get Tamoor to replace Sean. No.
He's out. You're out.
I'm just trying to look, would you rather me do this or sit on a fence like Sean?
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
The Shen continues. Violence against women and uncertainty of children elicit really strong emotive responses. In my view, there needs to be a strong context or narrative to justify either inclusion. Otherwise, it appears, to me at least, as a cheap and lazy method to wrench emotion from the viewer. When I've experienced this in the past, it's just left me feeling annoyed with the title. Farley's concerned that David Cage may not be the best writer to tackle the topic, based on his previous efforts falling short of the mark, is, I think, fair. In the same vein, questioning the necessity to display gratuitous violence from The Last of Us 2 is also fair. The pedigree of the developer delivering on these themes isn't in doubt. Farley's Wolfenstein comparison shows that you can build hype before its release without resorting to gratuity. I expect Last of Us 2 to be similarly packed with content that could deliver similar content. So why include it? Quick and easy controversial marketing. Using graphic content to showcase titles is fine. However, I think it's fair to expect greater Farley level cynicism because it's potentially propping up poor writing in David Cage's case, or in the opposite case of Last of Us 2, it's shallow marketing. Great show, guys.
Thanks, but I fundamentally disagree. Okay. That's it. Can we stop talking about trailers now? This is the new banning order along with loot crates, I think. We've done this.
Sorry. That guy who sent the question in, what was his name?
It was The Shend.
Is that on Twitter? Is it just at The Shend?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. I think he's if it's the guy I'm thinking of, I think he's the guy who uploads Street Fighter 3
he's
Third
massive
Strike
into
videos to YouTube.
He's massive in the fighting community.
Oh yeah, shout out to you, mate. My God, you are a hero. Like I watch all of those videos, and I am constantly on that YouTube channel. So big up you.
But at the same time, you're on the other side of the fight, so never email us again. Go on.
Gary Dutton came back in to clarify his points from last time. One,
do we need to? Gary had about half an hour last week on the show.
One, he wasn't saying QTs are a bad way to tackle important themes, hence his example of Life is Strange, and he doesn't know whether Detroit would be bad, having never played it. He was just referring to Cage's existing titles. Sorry if that was a bit unclear.
Okay, fine.
We also had... strangely, I thought we'd get a lot more feedback about the Dark Souls thing, but it was pretty quiet this week.
You have to be fucking kidding me, Matt.
It was insane, Matt, and also it did start to get quite tiresome. It's like, whatever
Matt
you tweeted...
texted us in the week and said, this has to stop, this has to stop. And then started saying, this is all your fault, Dave. It's not.
It's your fault,
Matt. Matt, it's your fault because you're refusing to do it. Like, it's what everyone wants.
Anyway.
Tamoor, did you hear last week's show?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
So we were talking about what to stream, because Matt basically spent a month getting people to subscribe and setting up a whole streaming setup and all this, that and the other. And now he's got nothing to stream. He don't know what to stream. So we said, well, it's got to be Dark Souls. It's got to be. I would sit him and he's going, no, but everyone's done that. And this is a few weeks after he was streaming PUBG. So, yeah. I mean... Matt, you've brought this on yourself by constantly refusing to do what the fans ask of you.
You've got to do Dark Souls.
Anyway,
man.
I mean, a lot of people accuse me of just cherry picking the responses I want, but I haven't done it this week. First response, Harmon, please don't do a Dark Souls stream. It's a complete piece of shite. Capone Adam, don't get sucked into his please, Matt Murray. No need for a Dark Souls stream. I'd rather see you stream Mario. Thomas Griffin, Dark Souls ship sailed years ago. Turners and Farley living in the past. So, I mean, that's pretty much all the feedback we got about it.
Shut up, Matt.
I'm joking. You should probably continue. Yeah,
I'll carry on. Andy Hero, stream Dark Souls, become all you can be. You're right. Everyone has streamed Dark Souls, but not you. Part of what makes it brilliant is how different people react to bits. Plus, everyone wants a Dark Souls Season 2, and this is the closest we'll get. Josh Garrity, in all seriousness, you should stream Dark Souls. Korosai, it's a privilege and honour to be selected to play Dark Souls. Do not insult the good people who have put their trust in you. Do your duty.
That's the most Dark Souls fan thing I've ever heard. It's your privilege to play it.
What's quite funny about this is that I can't see Matt doing this. Even if he's pressured into it, I can't see it happening. Because you haven't exactly got a track record of sticking with games, really. And I just can't see how you're going to force yourself your way through it.
I think that's your hook.
Yeah.
That's your hook. How far can he get into it before he rage quits? And everyone should place a bet.
What do they call that? Reverse what?
Reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology. That's the one. Keep going, James. I don't think Matt could do it.
I think he's capable
Dave, that doesn't
of
work
playing
if
that
you
game.
point it out. This.
Oh yeah,
you've
given it away.
You've reverse psychology. They said it couldn't be done, but you've done it. We got so many messages, so many tweets and pictures and Discord messages. It was getting ridiculous. So I'm going to do it.
You are going to do it? Yeah. When are you starting?
I'm going to do it this Sunday night from 9. I'm going to do it Sunday nights from 9 for an hour or so, and we'll see what happens.
This is going to be very fun to watch. I can't wait.
This is the best news I've ever heard.
You haven't played Dark Souls before, have you?
I got past the Taurus Demon. I played about 10 hours, but I stopped. Okay. I couldn't be bothered anymore.
10 hours, and he made it to the cathedral.
My bet is Anor Londo is where he quits.
That is a good shout.
I think it's going to be.
I reckon it's going to be. What's that? Capra Demon.
Okay. Oh, Capra Demon's a bad one. Yeah, but he's a dirty cheater, so he'll just go onto YouTube straight away.
Yeah, the good thing is I don't have. It's not like Dark Souls. I can just look at guides. So
totally, you can do that. You could totally do that.
You know what you should do, Matt? Just play in co-op. Just keep summoning people and have fun. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I am sort of dreading it, but I couldn't say no after all the tweets and messages, and it's starting to get my tits. So yeah, Sunday nights from 9, starting this Sunday. I don't know what date is, but
what time?
9:00.
9:00.
Get on, and you should just summon people from your chat into the game.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. That's a perfect way to get through the really tricky bits. Also, should I do a highlights reel for the YouTube?
There may not be any highlights, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Oh God,
you're going to be highlights. I was going to say this week there's going to be a Beyond Two Souls extravaganza because I'm planning to do it every night this week. Starting tomorrow night, I'm going to just get through it. I'm just going to push my way through it.
For weeks now, our listeners have been going, please do more streams. We want more streams. I got a feeling that next week's feedback's going to be, all right, lads, come on.
Yeah, less streams.
That's quite enough. Okay, any other feedback?
That's the feedback. Yeah, if you want to tweet us, it's at ComputerGamePod on Twitter or email thecomputergameshow@gmail.com.
It's not all that. It's not all that for feedback because I've got some feedback for you, Matt.
Go on then.
Oh, well, go on.
You're right.
Matt, you edited the show last week, yeah?
Yeah.
I noticed that you didn't bother to edit out bits like my bits that were embarrassing. That we talked about while we were recording, and I said you're going to take this out, and you were like, we were like, yeah, it's unfair to leave that in, but you left it in. I noticed. Why was that?
I think even on the show I said, yeah, I'm going to leave it in. So
no, you didn't.
Yeah, but we thought we were joking. Well, I genuinely thought you were joking when you said that.
I cut a lot of the rubbish out. I just made it snappy and.
I noticed that
hang on, okay. Go on. You were pretty quick to edit out the bit at the end where you said something horrendous that we then had to cut out for obvious reasons. That was
just a joke that went wrong.
That was that was really, really awkward, where we had to talk about it for a while afterwards. That got cut out. That got cut out, whereas my mistakes, you leave those in for presumably what you think is comedy effect.
I cut out a lot of your mistakes, believe me. There's many hours in the edit room.
James, I'll tell you this. I did notice something else about his editing last week. Matt made the joke. We were talking about bartering with a dog in the Nintendo eShop to get discounts on stuff. And Matt come out with one of his terrible puns where he said his bart is worse than his bite.
That was great.
Right? In the recording, I had to go back and listen to the backup recording. You talk all over that line, right? In the edit, Matt deleted your voice so you could hear it clearer.
I was moving the conversation around a bit.
So you spent ages working out your shit puns, to get those in, but then you couldn't take out stuff that embarrassed me.
That was fine.
What is that?
It went with the flow of the show. I couldn't move that out.
Disgusting.
It's not easy, is it, Matt? This editing stuff is not easy. You sit there. I mean, I appreciate it, but ain't easy. There's a lot of responsibility, and you will get caught up.
I mean, David, we have our clashes and stuff, but at least he respects, what we say when he does the edit.
Not dropping it.
Well, he does. Yeah. There has been other incidents, as we know, in the past, and he's at least
the episode where James farted throughout the whole thing.
Exactly, but at least you had the decency to edit those out, not like Matt.
Well, I edited out a lot of your coughs out on last week's show.
There was only one.
There was multiple coughs. I've got a backup, don't worry.
Disgusting.
Are we all cool? Can we all continue?
News.
We got the news. Come on, James.
All right, so there's been quite a lot of things that have happened this week, but the thing that is sort of blown up over today, pretty much, has been this response by EA to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 unlocking fury, as it were. What do you know about this, Dave? Because you're going to hate this, because it involves loot crates.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. So, as far as I know, someone was upset because it takes them a long time to edit. A long time to edit. My brain's still in the last conversation. It takes a long time to unlock Darth Vader or something.
It's a bit more complicated than that, but
people are angry about it. Okay, I did see one horrendous thing before we continue. Apparently, the rules for unlocking certain things were different in the review build of the game to the main one.
Yeah, because apparently it was 1,000 points or something if you were a reviewer, whereas it was significantly more than that.
6,000 in the final game,
which is, that's pretty dodgy.
Apparently that's been done before, where a developer has released a sort of a game where you can power through the upgrading system quicker as part of a review build. But that's always been announced. Like, look, we've sped this up so that you don't have to do the time-consuming stuff. But again, that's a bit shady. But if you declare it, then I see no problem with it. And I see the advantage of them wanting reviewers to make sure that they get to a point where they want them to be when they're reviewing the game, right? This sounds worse than that. They didn't declare that they'd changed the prices of things for reviewers and then just upped it when the game was actually released. That sounds bad. That sounds really bad. I can't think of an excuse for that.
I mean, do you want to hear what the whole thing was about?
Oh, yeah, that would be nice, yeah.
You tell us.
Okay, so basically, over the weekend, EA responded to this conversation on Reddit, and the conversation started with this guy who posted, seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked. So then EA responded to this, and they said, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. I mean, people have problems with this because it's like, pride and accomplishment for unlocking something unless you pay the money, and then it's like different. But then they said, as for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forward around the current topics, etc. So this was fine. So people, I mean, obviously this became the most downvoted comment ever on Reddit, which is quite an achievement. Like, people weren't very happy with this.
Yeah, last time I checked, it was like 115,000 downvotes. which is amazing.
I mean, that's impressive. But then what happened later was that there was this EA community manager called Matt Everett who then tweeted, the armchair developers on the internet. Like, as in, like, saying, these people don't know what they're talking about, basically. But then he deleted the tweet after getting a whole bunch of abuse. And then it turned out that people have worked out the progression where it's like it takes 40 hours to unlock one hero or pay money. And the whole thing just basically looks a bit kind of shitty. The whole
Sorry, it takes 40 hours of gameplay to unlock one hero. Is that legit?
Yes.
That is the figure that it's been circulated.
Holy shit, because what's important to note as well, that if you unlock one hero but someone else selects that hero before you get to them,
you can't use it. Yeah.
Use it. You can't play that game mode.
Yeah.
And I think Vader is one of the more expensive heroes, but roughly all the heroes are around the same kind of ballpark in terms of how many resources you need to spend on it. I've not confirmed this myself, but a lot of people are saying it, and what I do know is it takes a whole load of time to get one of those heroes, and like you said, you might not be able to use him. You might not even like him. Like, what happens if you play Darth Vader and you're like, this guy sucks ass? Then you've just wasted 40 hours.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Was there anything else to the story?
Obviously, like, the developers have been getting abuse now as well because of this, which is
death threats.
Yeah, which is absolutely absurd. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, the way...
Especially because they almost definitely didn't make those decisions themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the way I feel about this is that, you see, EA are totally within their right to do this. Like, they can make any game that they want to make, and the developers can make anything they want to make, but that doesn't mean you have to buy it either. Like, if the game has been designed this way and you don't like it, just don't buy it. And these complaints, I do kind of agree with what we were talking about earlier, David, like this idea that it is this sort of entitlement aspect to this, where people get really sort of, angry about this. But on the other hand, this is really shitty, like the way it's being done. But then if you don't like it, don't buy it. And then...
I agree with that. I agree in principle with voting with your wallet.
Yeah.
But consider this. This is a game that's been announced for, a year and a half, 2 years? Star Wars fans have been paying attention to it. They've been put through the marketing cycle. The hype, EA has built the hype around it, built the hype in those fans of DICE's games, shooters, Star Wars fans. And as the game's about to launch, all this comes out. Like, that has got to suck. Like, even if you're a smart person and you're like voting with your wallet, you've had that excitement built up in you only to have this come out at on the eve of its launch. that's rough. Like, it's that you can see why people aren't just standing back and going, well, I'll vote with my wallet and not buy it. And instead are like incredibly angry and venting their anger on the internet. There's a healthy way to vent it and there's a bad way to vent it. And a lot of the people that we're seeing are venting in a bad way, but it's also from their perspective. You can understand why people might be a bit angry about it.
Because, I mean, the design is terrible. But what do you think, David?
No, I agree. I mean, I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, that's 40 hours to unlock one of these characters seems a bit crazy. I mean, I know what you're saying with the, people have been pumped for this game and it feels like it's, it's not right. What would make probably an even bigger impact than just not buying the game would be to get a refund. Refund the game, send the game back. Like it's never going to happen. There will always be enough people willing to spend a ridiculous amount of money for stupid shit like this. And those people called Star Wars fans, for a start, I mean, they're used to just spunking money on shit.
Yeah, but that's not fair, Dave.
That is fair, isn't it?
It's not fair because
you would buy a coffin if it had a C-3PO on it, James. You would.
No, because it depends on what you're into. Like, some people are into Star Wars and they get excited about this stuff. You're into like Millwall or whatever, and you'll get excited about that. And it's like, they don't deserve to get ripped off just because they like Star Wars, Dave.
I'm not saying that they deserve to get ripped off, but if Millwall put out, a lunchbox with the Millwall logo and charge 40 quid for it, I ain't going to buy it.
You might not, but somebody else might.
No, so what's your point? It's not going to be a big seller, is it? I think...
Well, it's Millwall, but,
This is, exactly, we got no money. I think this is going to bubble over at some point, and the problem is that the more, there's a legitimate argument to say you're taking the piss, we're not happy about it, right? When this gets abusive in the way that it has, then the idea of the sort of standing up for yourself and fighting against the bad guy, if you want to put it that way, it becomes blurred because there are bad people on the side that are complaining and saying this isn't right, doing bad things. And you go, there needs to be some sort of organisation when it comes to fighting back against this sort of stuff, if it is a genuine issue.
Yeah, and it also needs to be targeted in the right direction as well, because targeting the developers is appalling. I mean, just before we started this, we got a message from somebody saying, remember, microtransactions keep us developers in jobs. We crunch for months on end. We stress we don't deserve threats or ill feelings of any kind, and that's totally true. You
totally have to remember that side of things as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and although I did play devil's advocate there, the right thing to do is to vote with your wallet. And the reason EA is doing things like this is because, and think about it in a broader context, vote with your wallet on a broader context. Like, the reason EA is so into this is because FIFA Ultimate Team makes them a fuck ton of money, a lot of money. And if you think back to Jason Schreier's Kotaku piece when they were talking about Visceral being closed down, one of the developers said the EA was asking what's our equivalent of FIFA Team. So and if you look at Need for Speed, the latest Need for Speed, it's got microtransactions in it, like left, right, and center. This is EA's attempt to try and replicate that success. So vote with your wallet and don't buy this game if you feel like it offends you. But also think about how you play other EA games, like FIFA. I know there's a lot of FIFA fans in your community. Maybe you should think about pulling back on Ultimate Team for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. The good thing with FIFA is that this Ultimate Team stuff is completely avoidable. Yeah. There's so much more of the game that you can play without touching any of that stuff. And so I've seen people saying, FIFA Ultimate Team is a terrible example of microtransactions and it really is ruining, it really is snide, which I understand, but because it really is like an optional portion of the game, it doesn't feel as bad. Whereas this Heroes mode in Battlefield, not Battlefield, what is it? Battlefront, like in the original game, it was just a normal mode that you had access to all the heroes on, wasn't it?
So, breaking news.
Go on.
EA has just published a blog post in which they've said that they're reducing the cost for unlocking top heroes by 75%. So Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader will now be available for 15,000 credits. Emperor Palpatine, Chewbacca, and Leia will be available for 10,000. Iden Versa for 5,000, which, if you're looking at timing-wise, is much less than 40 hours to get that amount of resources to unlock them. So, at the very least, EA has changed that.
Happy now, James?
Well, you see, there's also a broader point, though, that we were talking about this with Andy Hamilton on Twitter today about the way, and this is something else I brought up before as well, is the way that these mechanics may change the way that games are designed as well, and they clearly are changing the way that games are designed in the case of Battlefront, which does concern me, because even though there is the factor that, you vote your wallet and you say, okay, I'm not going to buy games with this in, other people won't do that, and my main concern with this is that it's always going to become like how mobile games have gone. That everything just sort of moves towards, the majority of things just move towards this sort of free-to-play model, and then, the way the game's designed is designed to make you keep spending money. And I don't think that that's been a very positive change for mobile games. I mean, you think
I agree, but I do not see this going the same way. I think there's still more success. There's still a huge amount of success in these sort of more traditional setup for games.
See, I'm not sure though, because if you look this week, there's been Take-Two came out and have said that going forward, microtransactions are going to be built into everything that they make. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely going to have them. It's going to be like a big aspect of the game because they've made tons of money.
People like the recurring revenue gamer.
Yeah, it's the recurring revenue is what they're talking about. And the fact is that it seems that a lot of these developers are making significantly more money out of recurring revenue, as they call it, rather than through the 60 quid that they make from the game. So that incentivizes them to design games in this way, which means that they are going to change, over time. At least these big, the big AAA budget games are going to change over time. And I know, this is just maybe the way things are going, but that doesn't mean we have to be entirely happy about it. And as you see with stuff like Battlefront, that's what's happened with this. And even though maybe they've made some changes to it now, the game was designed from the outset to use these systems so that they could make as much money as possible out of recurring transactions.
Okay, last thing before we move on, I'd be interested to see because I see it going more the way of GTA. You look at GTA. Red Dead Redemption's coming out this year. We're all pretty sure that there'll be a Red Dead Redemption online with microtransactions and all that sort of stuff. The way it's dealt with there is really well done because no one's having a go at Rockstar for their microtransaction stuff. Why? Because there's a fantastic single player experience and the online stuff can be played without being hampered too much about spending money on it, and they're raking money in.
Yeah.
So there is a sweet spot there. It's about publishers or whatever, the people that make these decisions. It's about them finding that sweet spot because the more they, go over that line, the more fight back there's going to be. And okay, EA may get away with it in Battlefront 2, but if this continues to happen, I think it will get to a breaking point. I can't see it going the way of mobile gaming because mobile gaming was something that was taken up by the mainstream, and video games, although is obviously wildly popular and everything, I still think there's a huge core base of gamers out there that just will not accept this sort of stuff, and eventually it will come to a head.
I just realised something.
EA doing this way, and
what have you just realised?
That people are already playing Battlefront 2 from the early access.
Yeah,
so there's probably people out there that have already spent that money on getting those characters. Yeah. And there's no mention of refunds in this blog post.
Oh, they've got to sort that out, surely.
I mean, you'd think they'd say that up front if they were going to.
yeah.
Oh,
we just wanted to mug the early. I mean, it's not even out yet until Friday, is it? That's the official release date.
Yeah, but if you pay extra, you get early. I think what they do is they say, okay, Like, no, it's true, isn't it? That is one of the things.
It is, yeah. It
is. So what they do is say, yes, you spent 40 hours, now we've changed it. So what we do, everyone gets a free Jar Jar Binks. Go mad. Enjoy that, sure.
They'd love that.
Yeah,
they'd absolutely love that.
I think so people like EA doing it this way, and then there's Rocket League where those microtransactions are only cosmetic. And Tamoor, does Overwatch also have just cosmetic microtransactions?
Yeah, Overwatch's loot boxes are purely cosmetic.
Yeah, and obviously that's a massive game. That's pretty well, but that's just cosmetic as well. I mean, I don't mind if it's cosmetic. You can spend as much as you want if that's what you want to do. But obviously EA have gone a much more substantial route.
It's like what Dave was saying, like if you build a stellar game and then figure out a smart way to put microtransactions around it, you're gonna be much better off. Like, I'd never spend money in game on anything, but I have spent probably a few £100 on Overwatch at this point. And that's purely because I adore that game. And
part of the problem.
It makes me love, like, everything you get is like beautiful, and like you can see the thought and effort put into it. So like I feel great about buying Overwatch microtransactions.
Yeah, I've definitely bought a couple of loot boxes on Rocket League. Yeah, also because I think I feel like they deserve my money. I mean, I got that game free on PlayStation Plus. Admittedly, I've since bought the Xbox One version, and I'm going to buy the Switch version. But also I feel like they deserve a bit more money. So I was happy to buy a loot box. It's just cosmetic stuff. I was happy to do that.
Okay, fine, enough. Next news story.
Okay, so next is some more bad news. Well, okay, I'm going to frame it as
bad. For fuck's sake, James. Can we get to the end of the news bit where you talk about a dog that can play computer games now?
No, it's fine, because after this, okay, there's another bad one, but then after that, there's good news, so it's fine. So anyway, the next one, EA has acquired Respawn. That's the next thing, and I don't want to say RIP Respawn, but I'm going to say RIP Respawn. You know,
do you remember when they released 2 shooters, one after the other, when Titanfall 2 come out? They released Battlefield 1, and everyone was like, why the fuck would they even do that? Well, I guess we know now, don't we? Make their sales not so great, then buy their studio. I mean, that's what that says to me.
Clever. So you're saying like leave Titanfall 2 out to die. Stock of the company goes down, you buy it for a bargain price of 500 million.
Listen, what I'm saying is that we were all questioning why, and that, alright, may be a conspiracy theory, but I think it's got some ground to it. And I'm not accusing them of that because that's probably illegal. It's allegedly.
Wait, what is your conspiracy?
That they purposely hung Titanfall out to dry so they could buy Respawn.
No, I think Titanfall was because it was Xbox exclusive and nobody bought one when it first came out.
I don't know, man. People put a bit, but those guys put a lot of money into those games. Like, just calculated risks like that just are a bit insane when you're playing with hundreds of millions.
Shoot down my conspiracy theory. The world is flat.
Because I mean, they bought them obviously because they're working on a Star Wars game, aren't they? Like that's something they're doing,
and that's one of the interesting things about it, right? Because if the reports are to be believed, Nexon was also bidding for them, and can you imagine what would have happened to that project if Nexon had outbid them and acquired Respawn? That would have been very tricky.
People are also saying that this one of the reasons Visceral got shut down was because they felt like Respawn's game was going to be better or doing better, and they felt it was necessary to shut down Visceral to buy these guys and support that game. Again,
where's that from? Who said that?
I saw it somewhere.
Don't talk shit. You've not heard it on the internet, man.
I just made it up. Oh. No, I saw a few people on Twitter like suggesting that. Who knows?
I don't know. They shut him down because he's got a little bit of knowledge in that.
He's questioning everything we're saying suddenly.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking annoying.
I was just going to say, Visceral was incredibly expensive to operate in San Francisco and not producing a game that has got microtransactions up the arse. So,
I'm a bit concerned because I'm a huge fan of Respawn.
You didn't like
Titanfall, confirmed the new Titanfall.
But I'm I'd be interested to see where their next game is going to go. I'm pretty convinced it's not going to be a Titanfall game, but
Dave, they're making a Star Wars game. Are you going to play it?
They're making a Titanfall game. They're making a new Titanfall game.
Both those things.
Yeah.
But they've announced a new Titanfall.
Yeah, as part of this, they said they're working on a new Titanfall game. And
excellent, I'm bang up for that. I've not seen any news this week. I've seen zero news. I'm completely blagging
The story is they acquired Respawn, and Respawn said, we're making a new Titanfall.
Actually, when you think about it, they announced they released Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1 around the same time, didn't they? Hey, guys? Anyone?
Next.
Hey, think about
Next
it.
Story.
Put it together in your head.
Either way, I just think it's a bit of a shame, and I honestly will be surprised if they're still around in 3 years' time.
Oh, fuck, James, cheer up. True. Next.
Just look at their track records. I mean, the number of companies they've shut down, it's insane. But anyway, so this is some other news. So Miiverse has been closed down. It's finally done now.
That's something we could skip.
Well, no, because it was. Did you ever use it, Dave?
Yeah, of course I did. I had a Wii U. I posted one message up there. I got angry whenever I played New Super Mario Bros. U with my son, and there was just pictures of Yoshi's dick across the screen off every level.
You saw my Yoshi dick picture.
Yeah, I did see your Yoshi dick picture. I reported you. What? That's why you can't go on Nintendo consoles anymore. That's why you lost 20 platinum points in your Nintendo reward account. I didn't think it was utilised well enough. It was okay. When I logged in, I saw a few people put speech bubbles up, little pictures and stuff, but it wasn't really integrated into many games, was it?
See, this is why we need. Well, it was. Loads of games used it. You could do it from any game.
There weren't loads of games for the Wii U, let alone ones that integrated Miiverse.
See, this is why we need Sean still, because he would be talking about this and about how brilliant it was and how
I loved the Miiverse. I thought it was amazing.
It was alright.
I kind of like that. It was a failure, undoubtedly, but the things like the Nintendo fans galvanized around that failure and turned it into this really interesting, weird place to be. It was like a weird corner of like a gaming forum that only you and a couple of mates really frequent, and you just go in there and find absurd pictures and stupid jokes and memes. And yeah, it didn't set the world on fire, but it was fun to be in there and see these cool artists doing insane things with a frankly atrocious touchscreen. Yeah, I loved it.
Do you think it would have been a success if they brought it forward to the Switch?
I mean, the Switch currently has more attention and more players than the Wii U could have.
Do you reckon it didn't because it doesn't have a stylus? And that was a big part of it.
The Switch?
But they thought, well, the Switch don't have a stylus. Is there any point bringing me?
It works on Splatoon.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I'm more surprised they didn't bring it over, frankly. But.
Yeah, I mean, they're overhauling the entire thing, so who knows whether they put up some weird sort of analogous style of message board system that just doesn't have all the weird lobby stuff, which could be fine, a middle ground between them. But I loved it, but I'm not gonna miss it.
Yep. Same. All right, James.
Okay, so the last final bit, which is good news, is that Xbox One UK sales have matched the Switch and beat PlayStation Pro.
That's insane to me. I mean, we reported on the story a few weeks ago where Microsoft said it's their most pre-ordered Xbox console of all time. James, you poo-pooed it.
No, we got into an argument about semantics about what they meant, and it was ridiculous. But I don't want to go back to that again.
No, that's fine. I'm not digging you out for it. What I'm saying is that it looks like that was totally legit. If it sold that well, what was it? 80,000 units in the first week.
I didn't see this coming at all.
Yeah, that's just UK.
I didn't see this coming, but I mean, as the article, Eurogamer talked about this, and the article mentioned that there is a stock availability factor here as well. As in, when the Switch came out, it was really hard to come by. There wasn't that many around, so it's it's more difficult to get them. Whereas clearly Microsoft had sorted that out, and there was loads available to be able to purchase. So it's difficult to sort of determine which one is more successful, if you see what I mean, because of that.
And it's going to be interesting to see whether it sustains those sales, because that's what Switch's real strength has been. It's been able to fight through that, lack of stock and continue to sell really well. And Microsoft's line has always been, this isn't for everyone, this is for a select group of people. The high-end gamers who have the equipment to make the most of this thing, and they don't expect it to match the sales of S or the original one. So although it's got 80,000 sales now, it will be more impressive if it maintains that, and I'm kind of skeptical as to whether it's going to maintain that.
I'd be interested to see as well if it's increased the sales of the S, if that's gone up this month compared to last. Because obviously, I mean, the marketing, one of the big difference, because the main thing is that they're putting it up against the PS4 Pro, right? Because that's a like-for-like comparison. And they're saying they've sold more PS4 Pros in the UK they've sold more Xbox One X's in the UK than Sony did the PS4 Pro. Right? That is like that's an impressive soundbite to use, and that's that you can compare that. The Switch maybe not so much, whatever. But I have seen like the marketing for this has been so much bigger than it was for the PS4 Pro when that was released.
See, can I ask you, where have you seen that? Because I've not seen any marketing for this.
You've not seen any marketing for the Xbox One X?
Where have
I've
you
seen it
Mostly?
everywhere.
Where?
Like on the internet, around the town, like billboards and all sorts of shit. I didn't see anything for the PS4 Pro.
Mm.
You really? You've not seen? I've seen adverts on telly.
See, I don't watch TV, so I don't see adverts like with that stuff. But I don't know. I've not really seen any.
I've seen an increase in Sony marketing for the PS Pro.
I have seen that as well. They're pushing bundles,
and that is a
aren't they?
very calculated thing, which is incredibly smart. They're pushing crazy bundles right now, and they did it like the moment the Xbox One X launched.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah,
they actually announced a £450 bundle, didn't they, with like 4 games? so they actually matched the Xbox One X price in a way you didn't think they would, but to actually increase it, but also to create this fantastic bundle.
But the bundle was okay. I didn't think the selection of the games was really the right choice, though, was it? Wasn't 2 of them like Uncharted games?
So it's the most recent Uncharted, side story. I can't remember what it's called. And then there's Horizon with the new Frozen Wilds DLC. There's GT Sport. Maybe something else. I can't remember.
That is an insane bundle.
That's not too bad. Yeah,
it's an Uncharted game. It's Horizon, which has got like incredible reviews and a crazy amount of marketing spend, and it's a game with a lot of legacy and history behind it. Get Gran Turismo. That's like that in terms of if you just looked at a picture of that bundle, you'd go, that's pretty good, even if you didn't know anything about those games.
Yeah. I mean, what my original point was that with so much Xbox marketing about, I wonder if that's driven sales of the S as well. People saying, actually, I do want an Xbox, but I can't afford an X. I wonder how it's done for them on that front.
I think it must have done well, because one of the big marketing pushes of this is the fact there's so much backwards compatibility. They announced only like a week before launch games like they announced all the original Xbox games. And that stuff, of course, works across all the Xbox consoles. So I wouldn't be surprised if S also got a bit of an uptick. Especially because you can get crazy bundles of that as well now. And I think Microsoft today announced this sale running up to Black Friday where you can get S bundles for loads of money off. I know that's mostly in the US. I'm not sure if there's a UK equivalent. I'm sure there probably is. But they announced certainly in the US tons of savings on Xbox Live, off certain games, off S consoles. So they're clearly pushing it, but then they need to push it a lot more on Sony because they're very much in second place. So
yeah, they're catching up.
Microsoft marketed this as almost as a new generation, but they marketed it massively as this is a massive new console, whereas the PS4 Pro, our marketing at the time felt like barely anything at all. So yeah, it's much more muted. But then Sony didn't have to push it because they knew they'd get sales, whereas Microsoft had to spend loads of money because they needed sales.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, let's get straight into what you've been playing then, because Matt, this week you picked up an Xbox One X, and
against all odds.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, against all odds. They said I wouldn't do it, but I did it. I'm the most.
No one said you wouldn't do it. Not a single person on earth said you wouldn't do it.
I'm the most predictable man of all time. But yeah, I've got an X. Yeah, I mean,
it's good.
I must say I'm really, really taken with the console. I think firstly it looks great. I didn't have an S, I just had the original Xbox One, and that was like a massive beast. The S is a lot smaller, and this, I'm not sure, I think this might be slightly smaller still, but it looks great. I've got the Scorpio edition, which has got it goes from black to grey. The pad doesn't have the colours on the buttons, they're all like sort of just muted grey colours on the buttons. I think as a in terms of looks, I think it's probably the best looking console out there right now. I think it looks great. It's super quiet, which is great. I've got a PS4 Pro, and that at first was pretty silent, but then basically the fan broke and it got loud. But it's super quiet. And I'm just absolutely loving it. I've played so many games.
What is it? Because one of the things that you said when you bought a PS4 Pro, and I bought a PS4 Pro this week as well, and I've got a similar sort of feeling. I'm enjoying it because I'm getting to see 4K gaming for the first time and stuff. But I'm also thinking, yeah, it's another PS4. That's fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that I've bought it because my one was getting a little bit long in the tooth, and I needed a new pad, the battery was, and all that sort of shit. But I am just going, okay, yeah, this is just exactly a slightly better version of what I had.
When I got my Pro, and you're like, oh, yes, you got a Pro, this week, Matt, tell us about it. And I said, well, it's just another PlayStation 4. And you were like, oh, come on, it must be more than that. But it really is just another PlayStation, which is fine. It's like a great 4K version of an amazing console. And so
what's different about this?
I don't know, right? So maybe it's different for me because I didn't really like my Xbox One. I bought it because you guys were playing Titanfall and some other games. I barely put any time into it. I barely tried really. The few times I did play it, the UI is just a massive, slow, broken mess. Or when we did play games, parties didn't really work, and it wasn't the PS4 which I loved.
Matt, can I ask a question though? Is it really significantly better though on the One X? Because like I still play on like the Xbox One like quite regularly, and party chat and all that is still awful. Like on that, and the dashboard is still it's faster, but it still locks up sometimes, and it's still not as good as it's definitely not as good as the PS4s.
No. I mean, UI wise, I still think it's needlessly complicated, and some things just don't make sense. I think the new UI, and that obviously is available on the S as well. And in like the week or so before the Xbox One X launch, I was playing on my original Xbox and downloaded a new update, and that already, in my opinion, made a substantial difference to how usable the machine was. Now, you press the home button, press down once, and suddenly you're in your games and apps. It does feel a lot better. It's still not perfect, still got issues, and I still think the PS4 UI is way better. I mean, I haven't had any lockups. It's super snappy on the One X. But I think if you've got major issues with the UI as it stands on the S, then I don't think the X is going to change your mind too much. But, so yeah, I love my original Xbox. I love the 360. Never really got on with the Xbox One. It was slow. It was broken. I couldn't be bothered. All the games were better on PlayStation. But I don't know what it is, but this week I've just fallen in love with Xbox again. And loads of listeners are probably thinking, well, you're probably just trying to justify the £450 console you bought, Matt. Well, maybe that is the case. Subconsciously,
just freely admitting it.
Subconsciously, I'm not thinking in that way because I really have no concept of money. I mean, I just bought like £1,000 telephone. So I'm not thinking, I need to justify my new machine. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm caught up in launch hype. But I'm just loving it. It's cheesy as fuck to say, but it does feel like the old days of Xbox. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact I'm joining parties and I'm playing an Xbox and using that pad, but I'm absolutely loving it. I love the fact I'm playing all these games and all the games look gorgeous. It feels like, it does feel like a really big step up. Much more so than the PS4 Pro. PS4 looks great anyway. The Pro is a better looking 4K version of that. But the One X feels like a huge jump. I mean, playing games like Forza, I've only got the demo, but the HDR lighting in that is crazy. And it's not just that it's brighter. It's hard to describe really, but it just feels like there's much more depth in the colours. And on the demo I played where it's the Porsche demo, if anyone listening has played it. It's sunny. It's sunny towards the end of the race. And when you go on the start finish line and you see that sun coming off the tarmac, it feels and looks amazing. And I've been really enjoying playing old games, seeing how they look. Mirror's Edge looks absolutely fucking stunning in 4K HDR.
How's Quantum Break, Matt? I know you're excited to play Quantum Break.
Well, this is the other thing as well. Matt has been talking about, what games he's bought and what games he's playing on it. And, he's getting excited to play Quantum Break.
Well, I just wanted to try it.
It kind of brings you to the other, problem that... Okay, so Microsoft now have a console that seems to be respected. It's being bought and is, a powerful what's the most powerful console out there right now. They need to sort the games out, don't they?
Badly.
That needs to be the next thing. I mean,
Matt, didn't you want to pick up Super Lucky's Tale? With your machine.
I did not. I picked up Assassin's Creed Origins. That looks stunning. Although I will say, I think Horizon probably looks a little bit better. Certainly in like the character models and the animation and stuff. But that looks stunning. I picked up a Quantum Break because it was like £8 and CEX, and
there's a reason.
What? But some people I know say it's alright, and I'm interested in seeing it. The story is quite interesting, and I've enjoyed the first bit of the chapter I've played.
Who are the people that you know? Name and shame them on the podcast.
People I know say it's alright. If you're like a sort of a schlocky like sci-fi channel TV show with like a shooter, anyway.
That's exactly what
whatever. I bought like Gears of War 4, which again £8. And again, if you're an Xbox fan, you probably played these years ago, and it's nothing new. But for me, maybe it's because I was sort of pretty anti-Xbox this generation. This feels like a substantial upgrade, and it does feel like feels much more like a new console than the Pro did for me, only because I played loads of PS4 and it was just a better one. Whereas I've ignored Xbox One up to now pretty much. And I'm excited to see what games look like, old games and new games when they announce them.
I mean, this is all really good, and it's good that hopefully there's going to be more competition, for Sony and everything. But it's like I said to you on Twitter, Matt, it's like it hasn't got stuff like Yakuza and Persona and stuff like that, or there isn't enough for this machine yet. I don't think,
definitely.
It
feels like they've got the hardware sorted now, and now they need to drastically concentrate on actually getting some games and some exclusives.
The software,
and I think Phil Spencer said as much himself, but. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, they're trying to acquire studios, aren't they, at the moment?
After shutting a bunch down.
They shut loads to save money and cancel all the TV stuff and the Don Matrix stuff, and now they're like, okay, we will just acquire studios, whatever it takes. I mean, everyone knows, and everyone's been saying in all the threads I've been reading and podcasts I've listened to, said, yeah, it's a great machine, most powerful, games look stunning, but my God, it needs some games. I mean, I do see it for me now being the place I will play third-party games. Because they almost certainly look better. A lot of the things they've read about, I've said the same out. Wolfenstein being 4K, proper 4K on Xbox One, and the comparisons I've seen, a lot of people say Xbox One X version does look a lot better. So I can see myself using the Xbox as the place to play third parties. But I love some decent exclusives.
Tamoor, so you've been using this, have you?
Yeah, barely. I've got one. I used it long enough to kind of get a feel for the UI and stuff like that, but I don't have a 4K TV, so I'm not experiencing the kind of the benefits of having that console. But for me, I feel like maybe I'm just reading too much into it or speculating, but for me, the thing that the Xbox One X does is kind of hit reset on the entire Xbox One kind of lifetime, the arc of it, to just reset and remind people that Microsoft are capable of putting out gaming focused high-end hardware. That's how they launched the Xbox One. The original Xbox was this super powerful, kind of clunky, but very focused machine, and it provided a unique experience. And along the way, they kind of lost that with the Xbox One X. So the identity of what Xbox is kind of up in the air, was kind of up in the air with between the TV stuff and Connect and all these other services that they were pushing to start with, and always online. And I feel like this is a console that tries to strip away all of that. And it might be too late for the current generation for Microsoft. They are behind the PlayStation, but they're doing fine. But what I feel like they're trying to do is kind of give themselves a clean slate for when the next generation starts, because then they can come out at the start of that generation and say, we had the most powerful 4K console of the last generation, and now we've got this console, and it's going to be more powerful than ever before. And by that point, hopefully they'll have a few more studios and they'll have some exclusives lined up. So I feel like this is very much the first step and prep for the next generation of consoles. Yeah,
it does definitely feel like a reset, or trying to reset. The last few years that have just gone super wrong. But
it is mad, isn't it? I mean, you remember when the Xbox One was launched and all the issues it had, and it's taken this long to sort of start to get a little bit of a foothold back into things, you know what I mean? just from those simple decisions. And I mean, they reversed most of those decisions before the Xbox One launched. But the damage was done by that point, and they're still trying to make up their ground. And I think this is a big step towards it. It's just, it also shows that £450 for a console, people will still buy it. Like, even though it's ridiculously expensive, they will still buy it.
Yeah. I'm more than happy.
And remember,
as
always, you can. As always, if you are an Xbox fanboy and you want the Xbox One X to do well, then what better to get the main one on your favourite video games podcast to play it? You can send me an Xbox One X. My DMs are open on Twitter. So get first one to send me a message saying I'll send you one gets the prize of sending me an Xbox One X.
Dave, the main one has already got an Xbox One X. Anyway, I'm loving the machine. A few months ago, I wouldn't have ever thought this, but the fact I'm actually excited to play Xbox when I get home at night is crazy, but I'm happy it's happened.
You could stream Quantum Break, Matt. You could do that.
Yeah. Right. Ignoring the ignoring demos that you've got, I come over your house tomorrow, and you want to show off what the Xbox One X can do. What do you put on?
Why do I have to ignore demos? I mean, Forza looks stunning. I may not have the full game, but
because I just think Forza's the easy answer, isn't it? But I'm interested to see if there's anything else that sticks out.
Assassin's Creed Origins looks incredible.
Did you buy that?
I did, yeah. I wanted to have one full price
modern
modern game. All the rest were like second hand or old titles. Yeah.
How are you getting on with that? You've not played an Assassin's Creed game before.
So I had weird sort of ideas of what it could be, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm surprisingly enjoying it. So I don't know how different this game is from previous Assassin's Creed games because I don't have anything to compare to. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's really super open world, and so again, I'm not sure if this game is very different to previous ones, but I didn't think it'd be this open world. For some reason, I thought it'd be quite sort of formulaic missions, go here, kill that person or chase that person or this and the other. But yeah, it feels almost Far Cry like in some regards. There's loads of things to be interactive in the environment, be that animals or overhearing other people talking and grabbing missions that way. There's tons of things to do. There's also this little like side tombs, a bit like in Tomb Raider actually, where but I've done a few of them where I'll just go into a tomb and try and find something within that. The actual landscape is absolutely huge. It's massive. You can call up your hawk. I can't remember what it's called, like Senu or something. And it acts as a drone essentially, and you can use that to fly around the environment to see if there are any markers on the map. You can use that to tag wildlife, tag people. It looks absolutely stunning, and I didn't think I would enjoy it, but I thought, okay, that's. Basically, I wanted to buy either that or Forza or Wolfenstein. Forza, I was happy to play a demo, so I thought, well, I'll play a demo instead. Wolfenstein I wanted to get, but people said you should probably play the previous one before that. So, yeah, I got Assassin's Creed. And yeah, I've been like going around doing missions. Then I might loot like a chest or whatever, and I'll get a sword. And it's very much like Destiny in that you'll see the sword you'll get, and that has higher numbers. So you switch to that one, so you're constantly changing your loadout and your
What do you feel the setting works? Like, is it an interesting setting?
Yeah, it did.
Is Egypt good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still only in the first major areas. I haven't seen the pyramids yet or the Sphinx or anything. But no, it's interesting. I mean, I know nothing about the characters, but what I have seen so far seems quite interesting. It's the story of this guy who seems to have come back to this motherland, and people are surprised or shocked or happy that this guy's returned. So I'm still getting my head around the story. There hasn't been any modern day stuff for me thus far.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Yeah.
I mean, although obviously you can like synchronize and climb up to high locations and synchronize on the map and stuff. So that obviously is modern language, but there's been nothing else modern thus far. I hope there is, because that was part of the series that, although I never played it, it did interest me, the connection to the modern to modern times.
There is some stuff
cool.
like that coming up.
But no,
cool.
I mean, God knows how much I'll play it, but it's just like the loop of doing a mission, looting around the area, getting better weapons or better armor or this. that you've got currently and switching it out. Again, it very much like the same Destiny mode of getting a new weapon that's got higher numbers, switch it out. I sort of surprised myself at how much I was enjoying it, but I'm only like an hour and a half in, so early days, but yeah.
Everyone remembers their first Assassin's Creed. And then, I don't know. I enjoyed the first one I played for a while.
Were those previous ones? How open world were they?
Pretty open world.
They were open world games.
Okay,
That's the whole thing.
Well, they were. The first one was like, it was a little bit like Tomb Raider, wasn't it? Where it was like a city and then connected with a single road. Then you get to another city bit. I think the most open world one that I played was Black Flag, because that felt truly like you could go anywhere and do anything.
Same team, innit?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got no interest in it.
Yeah.
I've
It's
never
really
been
good.
into
I like
Assassin's
it a
Creed.
lot.
I like the fact you
Have
can
you been
climb
playing it
anywhere.
as well then?
You can climb everywhere. Just like Zelda,
Yeah.
so there's no I'm not worried about invisible walls. If I want to get up to a certain location, I can just climb up it, which I'm really appreciating.
It is very much in the same mode as old Assassin's Creed, but they just kind of like really pushed out the walls, so you've got way more space and way more to do. Like in the other games, you'd usually have a select group of people that you'd go back and forth to for missions and quests and that kind of stuff, whereas now you have a little more, you have NPCs in the world that have missions for you and their side quests most of the time, but it feels a little more. It feels closer to The Witcher than an older Assassin's Creed game, and they've kind of mixed up the combat so it feels a little more Dark Souls-like. I think the combat works for it, but it works in very specific scenarios. You have usually like a handful of enemies, 1 or 2 enemies, and you're fine. But if you get ganged up on by like 3 or 4 guys, it very quickly goes south because they're quite aggressive and it's like you have that Dark Souls style combat where you're strafing and blocking and kind of trying to get at distance and do some range. And if you're surrounded by, people firing arrows and one guy with a hammer and another guy with like a lance and a dude with smaller knives that is just like in your face the whole time, you don't feel equipped to, deal with all of those threats at once. But otherwise, I think Egypt is the strongest part of it. Like the kind of, the research and the kind of detail in that world is really, really impressive, and I'm enjoying just kind of walking around. There's not a lot, but there's some jank to it, and you can tell this is their first attempt at going this open with it. But it's not overwhelming, and it doesn't happen all that often. Usually, it's just here and there you'll see something clip weirdly, or for me anyway. But like just walking around, some of the vistas in those games, I'm sure you've seen the screenshots on Twitter. It is a gorgeous game. They've done some really cool stuff with like the way they present different areas visually. And they're also having fun with it, which I really like. Like the current event, this is like a Destiny style raid thing, which I can't do because I'm not at level 30, but it's like a giant version of Anubis has appeared and you have to kind of fight him. So they're having fun with it. And
is that online?
Yeah, it's like they're doing like a weekly event thing. I don't think you can team up with other people, but I think it's like a weekly challenge thing where it's like Challenge of the Gods or something, like where you beat Anubis and you get an armor, a piece of an armor, and then you beat enough gods and you get this legendary god armor or something like that. I haven't dug too far deep into it because I'm still like maybe like 10 or 11 hours in or something. So I'm nowhere near able to do that stuff, but there's humor in there. Bayek is a good character. He's
cool.
he's not as stern as the other guys, and he's not like weird. Like I wasn't a huge fan of Edward Kenway at all because he just kind of falls into being an assassin and is like, yeah, I'll be an assassin, whatever. Not really taking anything seriously, but Bayek is kind of like the origins of the Creed. So there's a little more story to be found there, and you get to, if you're a fan, you get some nice like nods, like they explain where the feather comes from and why that's related to the Assassin's Brotherhood. The origins are in something Bayek does, which is kind of cool. So if you're a fan of the series, like, yeah, you'll find a lot to like about it, I reckon, but it's also very, very familiar.
Yeah, and it kind of slipped under the radar as well, didn't it? Because there were so many games that come out
Yeah. I think it's a great like Christmas game if you've got some time and you don't have anything else to play. It's like a nice open world to settle into and kind of explore and do missions in.
Yeah, I would love to just get lost in the world, because it seems like there's a lot to do. But also, I mentioned Far Cry earlier. There are little sort of encampments where you go in and there's like a captain to kill, and then and also some treasure to loot in the same area. It feels almost like the settlements from Far Cry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it was kind of overshadowed. Some may disagree, but Call of Duty World War II came out this week, and it sold pretty well, double the amount of the last game. And we were saying, I mean, we said a couple of weeks ago, someone asked, "Do you think Call of Duty World War II will sell well?" And I mean, yeah, I thought it would sell very well. I mean, it Call of Duty anyway, and they've got a base following, and I know that sales have progressively gone down in recent years. The switch to World War II, I think, was enough to push that sort of marketing campaign and say, look, this one's different. This is one that you'll want to pick up. It sold pretty well. James, you've been playing it.
I have, yeah.
Does it live up to the hype?
I mean, yeah, you've played it as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Because I mean, I had nothing to play last week, and I usually play through a Call of Duty campaign. And I said, okay, all right, well, this one I'm going to buy straight away and rinse the campaign. I'm not too bothered about the multiplayer. It was, we said before, there was a certain type of experience I wanted from it, but we'll get to that. What have you made of it so far?
Well, you see, I went into this actually with kind of, I don't want to say negative feelings, but I'd just come off of Wolfenstein, and which I did enjoy. And I was just kind of feeling whatever they're going to do with this, it's just going to be, sort of a throwback to, the past, and I can't see how it's going to be as interesting. Although, obviously, the combat is leagues ahead, I think, of Wolfenstein. The combat in this is still really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. I mean, in the beginning, I did dislike it quite a lot, and probably I'd probably say the first third of the game, it felt like a bit of a mess. Like
you're specifically talking about the single player campaign.
Yeah, the single player campaign. Yeah, it just felt. It was so up and down for like about the first third or about the first half of the game, where it didn't really seem to know what it wanted to be, because it wasn't really sort of developing a story like very effectively, from the beginning, and then it just keeps changing style. So sort of first of all, you start off playing as like part of a squad. It's the sort of the typical Call of Duty 2 like sort of style gameplay more, and then they sort of shift it across and it becomes a bit more like the more modern stuff, which is you're just on your own, sort of like fighting through, and you're like spies and all that kind of stuff. It looks beautiful, it's amazing to look at, but I just felt it was all over the place. But by the time that I reached about the midpoint of the game, it seemed to sort of settle down what it was trying to do, and I enjoyed it a lot more actually. I ended up being quite sad when I reached the end, because I felt that they'd really it had begun to go in interesting directions. I mean, there's parts of the plot particularly related to sort of they touch on like the genocide like aspects of the war, and that was one of the most interesting moments in the game. But unfortunately, they don't really go. They don't really go anywhere with that. It's a very sort of like isolated scene, which is kind of a shame, because I think it would be interesting for them to explore that. But I know I did enjoy it. I mean, how did you feel about it? Because you finished it as well, yeah?
It's not what I wanted. It's not what I was after. I mean, I said before, I didn't want it to feel like a James Bond action hero game.
And it really does in places, doesn't it? Which is what
it does. Disliked. And I felt that the whole the angle it took to try and it feels like they've taken bits of their last few games and they've tried to inject it into their older style campaigns. But I think in doing so, they make the war feel like one story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like World War II is obviously this horrific event, and with so much going on in it. And how they dealt with that previously is showing different sides of it, different battles from different parts of the war. And I think it was a lot more effective, because they had characters that you play, they die, and you move on and find out how that affects another part of the war, and stuff like that. they shifted around a lot, and you had a bigger sense of scale of what was going on.
But also,
and in this, I definitely think the best levels are the ones where you feel part of an army that's forming an assault. Like, so the level where you're fighting up the hill was fantastic. The level where you're fighting across the bridge was fantastic. The other stuff, the spy scene where you play as a spy.
Yeah, it was.
And I won't spoil it. It was okay up until you got outside. And then it asks you to plant the bombs, and I'm kind of thinking, this isn't working. Now you've gone, I don't know, it was going somewhere, and I was feeling tense, and it was interesting, and then it dropped it all and felt back, like, right back into the bad side of COD. Yeah. Where there's far too much stealth in it. Far too much stealth. And the stealth bits they're kind of well done, they're forgiving, but at the same time, there was a lot of moments where I had no idea that there was someone around the corner and they just saw me and shot me dead.
There's also that whole thing with the stealth where, I mean, for most of that, I always just felt like I don't want to be doing this, really. This isn't fun,
absolutely.
To do this.
Yeah.
And also, you see, what you're saying about like earlier games, that what they were really effective at, I thought, was sort of building up to a point. Like they really sort of show, the war sort of as it was sort of, evolving, and as things were sort of going on through like timelines and stuff like that. So you can see where your part in the bigger picture, how it was sort of fit into
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
Whereas this doesn't do that at all. And there's parts in this, particularly in the beginning, where it really seems to like sort of flick from one bit to another, where you're like, okay, well, what's happened in between all of this? Like, how have we got this far already? I mean, it's also very short. I mean, the campaign is really short, but
yeah, God, it's like 6 hours, 7 hours.
Yeah, about that.
Perfect
and you
length.
see, but then, like what you said though, I mean, towards the last half of the game, where it does begin to focus just on like your unit and like just on their actions, that is where it did begin to feel a lot better. But the stuff at the beginning, I mean, that level with the train was awful. Like, it was I hated that so much. You remember that, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and they made a very good point on the Beastcast last week, that saying one of the things that these Call of Duty games do sort of really fall down on is the sound. And if you imagine that train scene done by DICE, like it would have felt incredible. It would have felt epic. But when the train blows up in that, it's kind of like, oh, right. It feels like a misfired firework. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, okay. No,
there's that,
it really takes the edge off it.
Also, you see, I felt it was too sort of Michael Bay in parts as well. Like with the like massive explosions and all that kind of stuff going on. And but it didn't feel, it felt like it was for spectacle rather than for, for story reasons, if you see what I mean. Which I don't think really worked that well. It's
always like a bombastic action flick, isn't it?
No, but yeah, that's true. But then
it's not always been like that.
No, the World War II games were much more. Well, no, but the World War II games were always about like trying to tell a story of the war. Like that was that was one of the whole purposes of the game when it first came out, of like the original Call of Duty, was that they moved on from Medal of Honor and then onto Call of Duty with this sort of idea of trying to show like a more like realistic aspect of war and how like, war sort of develops and how it affects people. And that got lost with COD as it started to go towards, like all the, like the secret agent kind of side of it, like just, you as a superhuman and everything. But the original games were not like that. And that's why I was excited by this when I first heard about it, because I thought hopefully they go back more to, the original style of trying to tell like a historical story, really, like through this. And they succeed to a degree, as I said, towards the end, but in the beginning, it really didn't feel like they knew where they were going with it. It was all over the place.
Because that bit was so quick and right at the end, it does kind of feel like, I don't know, not crowbarred in, because it fit in with the story, but it didn't have the effect that it could have had. If they actually focused down on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like, instead of going, look how horrific everything was, it was, where's my mate?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of felt that it lost the effect that it was, that it could have got. Not necessarily what it was going for, but what it could have got.
We also, we tried to play the multiplayer as well, but it was broken. And it seems...
God damn, that multiplayer is broken. I couldn't even get into a party with James. It just kept saying could not connect to server over and over again.
And then also...
And it was kind of like, oh God.
Because we were going to try like the Nazi zombie things, and like you said, Dave, there still is something kind of like gross about that. Like with a game like this, like based on like historical conflict, having like the zombie stuff just still feels, I don't know, it just feels a bit off to me. But,
yeah, it seems like, I mean, the game clearly sort of says to you, look, the multiplayer, the campaign, and the zombie stuff, all completely different games, right? And I get that, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I've just gone through this game that essentially, like, the campaign essentially says, look, this was a horrific war and horrific things happened in them. But now they're back alive, they're back from the dead. And it was
zombies.
kind of, I don't know, it's just weird.
Did either you two manage to try the Normandy social space?
Yeah,
No,
you can get
I haven't
into
got
it.
into that yet.
You can get into it, and it's a bit odd because, like, it does have the loot crates and stuff like that, with stuff like just appearing, which is a bit odd. But they've also, I mean, they've copied. It's the same sort of thing that Destiny does, you know, with the whole, like, they have like daily missions and stuff like that, and you know, like bounties and all that kind of stuff. It's really just exactly the same as Destiny.
Did you complete your bounty to watch 5 people open loot crates?
No, because the servers are down, so it doesn't work.
Oh, right,
so I can't do that.
I will say this though, and I think there's been one opinion floating about that's been winding me up a little bit. A lot of people have been saying, "Oh, it starts at Normandy Beach," and "Oh God, we've done that over and over again." The Normandy Beach bit at the start of the game is so short, like you zip past that in seconds. So yeah, if you're worried about shit like that, don't be, because it gets away from that very, very quickly. Also, the other thing that did wind me up a little bit was that I died a lot. Did you die a lot in the campaign, James?
I did in the beginning, like especially that Normandy Beach actually took me quite a few attempts to get up
Same
to the
here.
beach. It was really difficult. I mean, I played the game through on normal, and because I always used to play the COD games on like hardened, but I just thought I can't be bothered with that this time because I know it's just going to irritate me. So I ended up playing it on normal, and I didn't die that much. I mean, I found it a much more enjoyable experience because I didn't feel there was less of that kind of like, you know, I've just managed to get through, you know, like loads and loads of people. I've got into a building and then I've randomly got shot by somebody behind the door. That didn't happen as much as it seemed to happen in like previous like Call of Duty games.
That happened a lot for me.
Really?
Happened a lot for me. There was a little moments where I was seeing the same short cut scene before the action started about 3 or 4 times. It was winding me up. That's
when I got annoyed with that train level, because that kept on taking me back like a long way, and then you're just like, oh, not this again. It's really irritating. But that was the only part of the game that really, really irritated me. It was that was not so good. But I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought I enjoyed it more than I thought. And the thing is about this is it really made me feel that there is still scope here for them, and there's still stories that could be told like in this theatre like easily. And I do hope they go back to it and they sort of expand it a bit more.
I can't wait to see what the next one's going to be about. Like, where do they go now?
It's
for some context.
I think it is.
Is it
Call of Duty
Sledgehammer doing the next one?
No, this was Sledgehammer.
Okay. No, this was Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Next one should be Treyarch.
Yeah.
And so
for some context,
what franchises have they? What they've owned?
Black Ops. So they're Black Ops.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Call of Duty World War II sold twice as much as last year's game, which was Infinite Warfare.
Yeah.
Infinite Warfare's sales were down 50% on Black Ops 3, which was the game that preceded it. So they've cleverly spun that figure.
How do you mean?
As in, like, Call of Duty Black... It's the reason that figure looks good, and they can say that is because Infinite Warfare sales weren't very good.
No,
it's not that, like, this is doing amazing. It's that the game before it was shit in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So,
which is weird as well, because I preferred Infinite Warfare to Black Ops. I thought it was more interesting what they were trying to do with that. But
Infinite Warfare is a great game.
Yeah.
Have you played this one, Tamoor?
No, I haven't. It's on my list. I think I'm going to play that later on, probably in Christmas. I'm in no rush to do it. The campaigns were the main draw for me, and I loved the multiplayer element of it, but they all started to blend together, and they became this kind of like weird, you're alive for 5 seconds experience that I just wasn't into anymore. So like from that, once I started drifting away from that, it was the campaigns, and then the campaigns kind of just started to lose me a bit. So now I'm in no rush to play them. I'll just get around to it at some point.
Yeah, see,
I'm playing them here and there
game.
because we're making content around it, but I haven't done a full playthrough.
I still really prefer the combat, like the World War II combat, to the Modern Warfare stuff. You know, like the weapons and everything. I just find I prefer the pace of the game. It's slower, and I just think it's more interesting. You know, to play that way.
Yeah, and I every time I played one of these exosuit COD games, I was thinking, this ain't Titanfall. Don't feel like Titanfall. Yeah. Oh, well, I'd be interested to hear what you think of the multiplayer, especially the war mode, James, that people are saying that's genuinely really good.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a go this week.
I mean, I'm going to trade mine in this week for Wolfenstein, but I will try and get a quick blast of it before it goes back. Yeah, okay, fine. You've also been playing, you played through, what was it, Life is Strange Before the Storm Episode 2?
Yeah.
This will be quick, right?
Yeah, I finished that. I mean, there's not much I can say about this because it's all spoilers, but it was really good. And
do you think I was correct in what I was saying about, the risks and the stuff, like how it pulls it all off?
Yes. And because there were so many parts in that I thought were going to be awful that ended up being really quite touching and brilliant. It was, it was excellent.
And surprisingly, the only parts of that episode that I thought didn't work was the stuff where it tried to inject a little bit of video gamey, point and click stuff in there. Yeah. That I was kind of like, this is not what I want to be doing. Whereas the prolonged cutscenes with barely any interaction was where the game shined. It was like, I can't wait for episode 3 of that. I really hope it maintains the quality of the first two, because it's been so good. It's been so good and so different from anything else I've ever played. And I'm glad you agree, because sometimes I'm sitting there thinking this game would be so easy to tear apart, so easy to rip into, and to know that I'm not on my own.
The quality of the writing is really good. I mean, it's really well written. I mean, I'm going to play Beyond Two Souls this week, and it's like the difference is just incredible. Like the difference between
you're right.
Them.
I can't argue against that. Again, Tamoor, you played Life is Strange, right?
Yeah, I played the first one, but
you haven't touched this, the sort of prequel.
No, not yet. The third episode's not out yet, is it?
No,
I'm waiting for it all to be out before I play it again. I don't know how. I've heard the writing stronger than in the previous or the other game. So I'm gonna check it out based on that, but I've got no affinity for the series. I thought the previous game was very overrated.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first two and a half episodes are very awkwardly written. Like I did not like any of the characters. It felt like a bad soap opera at times, like a bad version of the OC.
It totally feels like that.
And I couldn't. The characters just annoyed me most of the time, and they were just you're feeling like an adult, and you've got this teenager just being going into shame spirals and stressing over the most minute things, and you're just like, get a grip, just get on with your life. And then I was just like, oh my god, the characters annoyed me. And there was that one line where she was like, oh, I love Japanese culture, from Akira to whatever the other thing was at the end, and I was like, you can all die. I hope that twister rips through your room.
Yeah, no, that was episode 1, wasn't it? Which was, I mean, it was so poorly written at times in places.
Having said that, there's some real strong moments in that game as well. Like I'm kind of playing it up for comedy value, but there's towards the end, the reveal was great, and the writing felt like it came together better than it started off, which is why I'm keen to play the new one. And I'm also excited. Like it's that game, despite not liking it as much as other people do, it made me excited for the future of Don't Nod as a studio. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Vampire and their own second season of Life is Strange.
Yeah, it's going to be. I do not know what the second season is going to be like. But yeah, no, you're totally right. It reminds me of those sort of Netflix shows that my wife watches. And I'm looking at it, I'm just, oh my God, they're in a school again. And they're just drama about nothing. And then something horrific happens just to add a little bit of drama to it. It definitely feels like that. Yeah. But at times, I care about these characters more than I have done in most other games.
Yeah, as it goes along, I started to warm to them, but like the starting is really bad, and like I'm someone who's watched like the OC and enjoyed it, and I was going through that and I was like, this is upsetting me and I don't like it. But like from episode 3 onwards, I was into it.
Cool. Right. So what have you been playing, Tamoor? What have you been playing?
What's the last? I finished Wolfenstein yesterday, which was an interesting game. Really
justifying the hype.
Sorry.
Does it justify the hype? Everyone's been raving about this.
It does and it doesn't. So I started off playing on PS4 and I absolutely despised it. I hated it. Like, I think the shooting is really bad on console. I can't pinpoint with certainty the thing that it is, but like, I've got some ideas of what I think it is. I think the kind of like the aiming, the acceleration on it's weird. The snap to, kind of aiming's really bad. The kind of distance at which enemies can see you before you see them, and the bullet drop or whatever it may be, like, it always feels that they can hit you from further away than you can hit them. And like the design ethos, because you start off in that game and you can only get a maximum of 50 health and 100 armor, which is an interesting narrative narrative kind of like element of it that they're working into gameplay, because BJ's injured after the last game, so you're kind of you're in a bad way, and it's something that is a big theme of the game. It's really interesting in terms of like how that system works with the narrative, because he's constantly talking about feeling like his body's about to give up and he feels like he's slipping away. And the way you kind of build your energy is you have a limit of 50, but if you keep collecting health, it kind of overcharges it. And then let's say you get up to 200, but we won't stay there. It'll start ticking down back to 50. So from that perspective, that's a really cool idea. Like, BJ himself feels like he's on borrowed time, and at the same time you're seeing your health slipping away constantly, which is to me, I thought that was like a stroke of genius. On the flip side, it means you're one bullet away from being killed constantly.
Yeah.
Or one or two shots. And when you feel like you can't aim properly and enemies are appearing in your periphery before you can see them and just instantly killing you, it's not a good gameplay experience. So I switched to PC, and on PC a lot of that stuff was alleviated, because, you know, mouse and keyboard, you can quickly whip around and you can nail headshots left, right and center. So even if someone gets a jump on you, you can take them out before they usually can kill you. But it's still, yeah.
Did you also find, I mean, it's the other thing I found about the game was like navigation I found quite irritating at points.
It's got one of the worst waypoint markers I've ever seen. Like, the amount of times I pressed, this is both on console and PC, like, you press the button to tell you where your objective is, and I've had to like stand back and try and see a minuscule change it's like looking for the pixel that changed color on the screen. Mm-hmm. I found it infuriating to try and tell where that little marker was. And sometimes it's like on the screen, other times you need to be looking in the vague direction of it before it shows up. It is really weird. And there are like a lot of situations where it's difficult to tell where you're supposed to be going. Like, it's like, oh, you need to go underground, or this is a little dark corner that you need to walk through, or a vent that you can't see properly. So it's a thing that I found myself constantly banging my head up against. And like a lot of the gameplay stuff on PC, like I said, is remedied somewhat in the kind of in the like the corridor shooter bits, but when you get into the set pieces, it all kind of comes back again, because that design of it wants you to feel like you're a Nazi killing machine. You've got these two guns and it just wants you to run around like unloading, but unlike Doom, which rewards you for doing things like rushing in with like glory kills, you kill someone in Doom and that kill rewards you with a full health boost or something like that. And then you carry that momentum forward. Where this game, you rush in, someone appears behind you while you're focusing on someone else, and it's like 3 shots and you're dead. So it's constantly at odds with itself, its own design ethos, which is I felt like it killed it for me in a lot of like the gameplay situations. And a lot of people were just saying, just play on easy. And honestly, like, I stuck it through because I'm like, I have an ego and it's very fragile. So I was like, I can't play on the easiest difficulty. Like, when you go to the easiest difficulty, he's got like a dummy in his mouth and he's wearing a baby's hat. And I was like, I can't do this to myself. I'm better than this. So I stuck it through. But honestly, if you don't have an ego, just play it on easy, because the narrative is one of the best I've seen in a shooter and easily in this year. It is fantastic. The story is amazing. Like they are not shy about tackling issues like that pertain to, racism, sexism, like all the stuff all the most hot button issues that you can think about when you consider a story about Nazi Germany and Nazis taking over America. It tackles them from every angle you can think of, and it does it with confidence, and it does it with subtlety and nuance and grace, and it does it like without it becoming like dour and making you feel like his life is not worth living. Like it goes from like discussing racism to like poop jokes in the space of 3 seconds, and it does it perfectly and it nails it. And you're like, I was thinking about racism a second ago, and now I'm laughing about this woman stinking up her toilet. And no game, like, its tonal shifts are amazing.
Does it take on the controversial subject of loot boxes, though? Does it do that?
It does not, unfortunately, no.
Right, it doesn't bother go there. It's happy to talk about Nazis and sexism and violence, but
no loot crates,
no I really want to play this, not only just to experience the game, but because I know it's going to get mentioned about 1 billion times in Giant Bomb's end-of-year podcasts. But do you think I really do need to play the previous game?
Yes, you do.
I don't think you do.
I do.
I don't think you do.
The previous game wasn't very good.
It was.
No, it was very good. I really liked it. Well, the other thing that I liked about the original game, the previous game, was it accommodated stealth, which the current one, the new one, doesn't until like halfway through the game, when it becomes viable. But honestly, like, I can tell you what you need to know about the last game. I would encourage you to just watch like a playthrough of it if you can, or watch the cutscenes. Like, it's a very good game. If you have the time, play it. Because it's like really fun, and it does some really cool stuff, and it goes to some really interesting places. But if you want to be part of the discussion this year, you can just read about it very easily.
I've got an idea. Why don't you Why don't you not play Quantum Break and play Wolfenstein instead?
That is a fucking good point.
Don't stream Dark Souls. Stream Wolfenstein.
Dark Souls stream is off. That's
no. That's not
I gave you an out, mate.
That is not off. Not off. Okay, have you got any other games for us?
No, that's what I've been playing. Assassins, and I'm playing Overwatch all the time because it's the greatest game of all time.
It was alright. The briefest of mentions, of course, to Super Mario Odyssey, which I have now seen what is, I assume, considered the proper ending, which is when you collect 500 moons and you do something else that is new. And the thing that you do is new, and everything that happens afterwards is just absolutely beautiful, wonderful. And maybe I've been a little bit cautious about going crazy over this game in recent weeks, and sort of saying, yeah, no, it's a very good Mario game. The ending that I experienced this week was genuinely quite emotional, and just the whole last level, the whole last bit is just so wonderfully perfect that, I completely blew me away this week. It's so good. It's so good. And I think, Matt, I would like to, just on one night, right, if you're doing streaming, get back into streaming and everything, just one night, once you get to 500 moons, before you go to where it sends you, just stream that for a little bit, because I'd like to see how you react to it. I know for a fact that James is going to absolutely adore that bit. He's going to absolutely adore it, and I'm going to get text messages from him saying that this is amazing. I know for a fact that James is going to love that. I think he'll be interested to see your reaction to it.
Yeah, I'm on like 323 moons now, so...
You will scream through that last, 180... because it's really easy to pick up moons. You don't have to get anywhere near from 100% in all the kingdoms to get to that.
I'm on sand one now, so I'm only like a 4 or 5 in, and I've basically got as much as I can without really looking at guys and stuff. And I think I need like 4 or so from each of the previous levels, so I've got tons more still to do.
Yeah. So I've been 100%ing them, like trying to, and I have for where I'm up to. I've just started the Lake Kingdom is the next one. So, yeah, I just did the Wooded Kingdom, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to go back. I still maintain there are some kingdoms that are not quite as well put together as others, but for the vast majority of them are absolutely brilliant. And I think it is up there with Mario 3D World now for me. Maybe even surpasses it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, James. I can't wait for you to do the last bit. And it's a bit shit to turn around and say, yeah, I've put in 30 to 40 hours on this game, and it's only now that I'm putting it up there with 3D World. But I adored that whole last section so much that it really did. I mean, I even reflected on my gameplay and sort of said, actually, this is fucking superb. And I'm still playing it. I'm still going and mopping up things that I haven't done yet. And there's still plenty to do. It's wonderful.
Yeah, Dave, have you done the master race on the Wooded Kingdom?
Probably not. I haven't done much of the races. I haven't been...
Yeah, that's difficult.
Tough.
I had to learn like a new move to be able to do that because it was impossible. But yeah,
have you done it?
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah, it's
I might make that my next challenge. Then I'll do the master race on that.
Yeah, the first one is easy, but the second one it's tough because you have to figure out a way. There's no way you can do it unless you figure out this new move. Basically, it's it's good.
Cool. Tamoor, I assume you're wrapped up in the love for that game.
Mario, yeah, I adored it. Like I think it's my favorite Mario of all time.
A lot of people saying that, and now, I mean, 3D World was up there for me, and I think I prefer this now.
Mine was Galaxy. Like, Galaxy was number one for me until this came along, and there's just so much charm in it, and it's just, it's two games Nintendo released this year, like, and both of them, they have so much in common, like both Zelda and Mario. The thing that I love about both of those games, and the thing that the mission statement for Nintendo of this year is like they reward curiosity. And as people who play games, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than the feeling of going, oh, I wonder if there's something over there. I bet you there is. And then going there and then having something be there, even if it's small, even if it's like a stack of coins.
Yeah.
That is just like, it's the most uplifting and like, it's just so good. And that game is just full of that stuff, wall to wall. Everything anytime you think, I wonder if the answer is yes, and it's worth it. Go and do it.
Did you get to 500 moons? Did you do that bit that I'm talking about?
I haven't got to 500 moons yet. I'm taking it slow now. So I played it before it was out for like intensely for a few days, just so that we could have coverage of it up. So like I decided to take a bit of a break from it and then come back to it and play it like at my leisure once the kind of rush of like having to cover all these games is over and I can really savor it.
What you've just said about your curiosity there is completely summed up right at the very end.
Yeah.
Like insane. And for those of the people that have got there, know exactly what I'm talking about. It's really funny. You sit, that's great. I wonder if I go, yeah, holy shit. Okay, brilliant. Yes. Yeah. So, that's
going to be my Christmas game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cracking. It's going to be my life game. I'm going to be playing that game for years. Every morning Harry wakes up and asks me to put it on. And we've had to limit it to weekends now, and it's heartbreaking. Okay, cool. Right, should we get onto emails and tweets and get out of here?
Okay, we've got some. Although the first email we got is quite lengthy, but I'll read through.
God.
So, if you want to email us, it's thecomputergameshow@gmail.com. The first one says, Hi chaps, found your debate about how Nintendo maintained this momentum really interesting this week. I've been wondering the same thing and had some thoughts. Thoughts. Feel free to read them out. Rubbish them or ignore entirely. There are a few ports that would be welcomed by many. Smash, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, Bayonetta, Mario 3D World, and a few that may work, but would need some pretty major reworking, controls-wise, that made me think they wouldn't bother, such as Star Fox Zero, Mario Maker, and Pikmin 3. There have been very vague hints that the Animal Crossing mobile app might work with the Switch tie-in, and we know long-term that a new Fire Emblem, Pokemon RPG, and Metroid Prime are in development, but they'll be late 2018, if not 2019. Miyamoto said that Pikmin 4 was finished in an interview a year or so back, so that may come out too. What else is there that would get a big reaction?
Well, we had a similar question to this, was it last week? And we were saying that, you know, there are obvious fan favourites that would get a big reaction. But I do wonder, I mean, a new Mario and a new Zelda game in the same year is a big deal. And it's, how do they top that? Where do they go from here to sort of even compete with that?
They have apparently just registered a bunch of, like, more trademarks of stuff, which makes it look like maybe they're coming. There was Smash Brothers, Animal Crossing, and something else. I think they registered as being possible ones. I think
F-Zero Nightfall, is that coming?
That's not coming, David. It's never going to come. It's
it's all about Metroid. It's the only thing I care about now.
Yeah, but then what? Like, I mean, that's a while off, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I don't know what they've got now. I don't know.
They've got, I mean, there's like, third parties do seem to be interested in it more.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? And all the indie games that are coming out will keep you playing on the Switch. I've got no doubt about that. I mean, for me, it's going to be a Rocket League box for the rest of the year, which is just
that's
brilliant.
out from tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow. It's £15, 3 pence, apparently, which is pretty good.
That's crazy. I'm buying it.
Yeah.
I'm buying it because we haven't had a response to our request for code, so I'm all over that. All over it.
Okay, he continues. He says a Majora's Mask-esque prequel, sequel to Breath of the Wild, using the same world but incorporating a completely new story. Could those ruined castles be fully vibrant towns with new enemies to go hunting with the Guardians at your side? Could it deal with the rise of Ganon? The DLC may turn out to be this, but I wonder if a high-speed turnaround of another Zelda set in this land is doable, though maybe not for 2018. I know, I think that's possible. Maybe we're going to see more Zelda. I mean, they've got more DLC coming out for this year, haven't they?
If they announce Breath of the Wild 2 set in the same place but with just like loads more stuff, like, well, not even loads more stuff, just new stuff, I'm all over that. Happen. I'm all over that. What's that?
It might do, because they've got precedent for this. They've done this like with Majora's Mask, and what else have they done it with? I'm sure they've done this with other games. They've released other ones in. I mean, similar...
Luigi U, stuff like that. I mean, fine. I'm not convinced that this DLC is going to be what I'm after, but I mean, I just want a new space to explore with new collectibles and bits and pieces and surprises. I would totally pay again to play a very similar game to Breath of the Wild, but with more shit, with more stuff to find. Mm-hmm. But it's so good. It's so good. And by the time I was done, I wasn't done. Like, I just kept going back. And every now and then I still switch it on to do a couple of shrines. Yeah, it's incredible.
And then he also suggests maybe there could be like a Super Mario World 2, or 3 if you count Yoshi's Island as 2. He thinks that, maybe they could go back to that with the new Super Mario Brothers styling. I don't know, do you think there'll be another 2D Mario that will come for this? Or I was thinking the other day, do you think there's going to be another 3D Mario? Like, in the same way of 3D World? I think there's a good chance. I mean, they did this. I mean, Galaxy 2 wasn't that supposed to be like an add-on kind of thing anyway, and then it morphed into a full game. That something similar may happen with this.
Yeah, I'd be more interested in a new 3D World Land style game than I would another new Super Mario's game for sure.
I think we will see Super Mario Maker, though. I think that's going to appear at some point.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Where you only get, like, it's free to play, but you have to buy each block. You get like 10 blocks to put down in your level. They'll do the thing,
won't they? It won't be loot crates, it'll be question blocks. Like what's in them.
Do you know what I want to see?
What's that?
Do you know what I want to see?
Go on.
I want to see Mario flying in space in the Odyssey, and then just behind him, Wario appears in his own ship, and is like, "This is my game now." And then you get Wario DLC.
Mate, Wario DLC would be good.
Super Wario Odyssey would be amazing.
We were talking about this. I can't remember who I was talking to about, but like, if it was another character-based Odyssey game, what character would it be? And like, the obvious answer would be Luigi, but I don't think they would do that. I think it would be, as you say, Wario would be very interesting. A lot of people saying it could be Princess Peach. I don't know.
Return of Captain Toad. You'd have something like that.
Oh, God. Imagine waddling around that sand area at his post. That would be just an absolute nightmare.
He's got to be worried of stealing all of Mario's shit while he's off.
I mean, I understand why people would want a Princess Peach Odyssey or whatever, but after the Princess Peach game on the 3DS, didn't that sell terribly?
No, that was on the DS, I think. That was that one. The one where she cried and it, like, they did the making. Yeah, it was just odd. It was
Jesus.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly. I don't think now. It was not so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more. They haven't announced anything. There wasn't, like with Zelda, we knew instantly that there was going to be DLC. We haven't had that with Mario Odyssey. Mm-hmm. So they'd be mad not to release something. And
then it continues. A new IP.
Wow, this guy is fucking going on a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we've still got.
It's the piss, mate.
We've still got 4 paragraphs to go through. So
what?
This is what I say every time, and it's like then everyone has a go.
What do we say? Edit it down.
Yeah, but no, you say that, and then Matt says, "No, you got to read it all. You got to read it all." And it's...
Why do you say that, Matt?
Just edit it down, James.
Bowing to peer pressure. Okay. You see, I can't edit it down on the fly. It's like there's too much of it.
Skip to the next one.
All right. Okay.
Who sent that in?
That
Did you even say who that was?
That was from Sean. No.
You see what we've got to deal with now, Tamoor? This is what we've got. It's all fun and games, but when you're actually sitting here listening to this bollocks, you've got to go. James, come on, put it together. Let's go.
It's because you're never clear about what you want. You want one thing, Matt wants another thing. I'm never sure I'm going with it. Anyway, that was
who's
from
the main one?
I don't know.
Listen to him.
It's me.
Don't listen to your mate. You listen to the boss.
Clearly, you're just like, oh yes, Tamoor. I'll skip on to the next email.
Well, Tamoor said skip on to the next one about half an hour ago, and we're still talking about this one.
Okay, here we go. Chaps, more often than not, I will buy a full-price Nintendo game, £40 plus, but very, very rarely do I buy a full-price PS4 game. I will buy brand new PS4 games, but around the £20 or £25 mark. Does it say more about me than the industry? I think there are many answers here, but keen for all your thoughts, and that's from Sean.
So it's more about Nintendo and how their games hold value. Mm-hmm. You know, their games, you see them in the shops and they're still like 30, 35, 40 quid years and years after they're released. You know, and that's second hand. You know that the price of those games don't shoot down like they do on the PS4 and Xbox One. So you're more likely to pay full price because A, you ain't going to be saving much by waiting, and B, if you don't like it, you can sell it and get most of your money back.
And also, you know, I mean, generally it's going to be quality as well, isn't it? It's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are going to know that.
Hi all, have any of you completed the final level in Mario Odyssey? Without spoilers, it's the one where you get after 500 moons. So far I've told Mario to go fuck himself, shouted why though, kicked the sofa and almost cried. I've been at it for 3 days. I get to the bit with the bird enemy and fall to pieces. Please tell me you're also having trouble, and that's from a broken man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier. It took me, it took me 3 days to complete, and I got more and more frustrated. I got right to the very end once and died. But it's but it's totally worth it. Like it's incredibly challenging. But you know that you can do it. Throughout the whole thing, you know that you can do it. It's really it's perfectly pitched. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. If you're having trouble with it, keep playing it, because the more you learn that level, the more you progress. It's really clever.
Next one says...
No one else has done it on this pod.
So, next email's from Capone. Yeah. He says, do you think the setup of Odyssey could work well in other games and genres, i.e. the concept where the true game begins after the credits? And then he says, having thought about it, there are other games that still have things to do and collect after the credits, but this feels like the first time in ages where players actually want to do it. So it's not so much that it's a new concept, but it's a mixture of A, being a short game, leaving you wanting more, and B, the concept of continuing being given a narrative with new goals, and C, revisiting old planets resulting in new activities, and more importantly, D, it's a fun world to play in. Hardly any other game has all these qualities, and so that's why it feels like such a fresh concept. I just answered my own question, sorry for wasting your time.
Yeah, Nier Automata was the one that everyone was saying, hey, once you completed the game, complete it again, because otherwise you haven't played the game.
I played that game once and it was dry.
But everyone was like saying, "No, that's not it."
You know how you don't sell me on playing a game multiple times by having the first time through be dry. There's no way I'm spending 14 hours or whatever it was, and then at the end going like, "Oh yeah, that plain version. No, that's the standard one. You got to do it again." And it's like, no, the first time was shit. I'm not going to do it again.
No, come on, dude. I know the first time was shit, but then it gets good.
Yeah, I know you've put 12 hours into this, but it's going to get good now. No, man, that's not how it works. Like, if it was something mechanically in there that was, like, pulling me through, but even the combat's, like, bare bones at best. It's not interesting. The world is very drab, and I understand that there's more story there, but, like, dry.
Can you hear that? That's the sound of Sean crying.
I've actually got it on the list to go back to it, and like it's something I just don't want to go to, but I have to for Game of the Year. I know I do, but I don't want to do it.
Not if you're on this podcast Game of the Year show. You could just not play it and then just not vote for it. Piss people off. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Right, we've got tweets now, and if you want to tweet us, it's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. Scientologist says, with the announcement of Ace Attorney games coming to Switch, will Matt have the headphones in on the console or his music when playing these?
Do you know what this is about, Tamoor?
No. What's this?
Matt admitted
this is disgusting, but go on.
it is.
Oh, right,
usually,
yeah, I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Matt plays Ace Attorney games while listening to podcasts.
That's the only game I've ever done that.
But you didn't even get through the first case, did you, Matt? Let's be honest.
Bored of it. It gives a...
I'm
impressed that you well, obviously you didn't get very far, but if you had got further on, I'd be impressed. Because, like, reading text and listening to different people speaking about different things, jumble my brain right up.
That's true. That would fuck me up as well.
Yeah.
But not only that,
I have to pause podcasts.
It's got amazing music, Matt. I don't want to get into this again, because I'm just going to get annoyed. It's,
Man, that music in the game is just insane.
I don't think it's got a better music than Rebel FM.
What?
I'm joking.
Are you joking?
I'm
Matt?
joking.
Yeah,
I'm still listening to that podcast.
Jesus, James.
That podcast is...
I never know where you're
They're
joking,
still
Matt, because
going,
you come out with some right shit recently.
Alright.
That's...
Got a lively one tonight.
Anyway, Scientologist also says, is there any game that you know is better than another and get annoyed that people ignore it? For me, just the thought of another Skyrim release doing better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the first was an all-timer, has me slightly on tilt.
that stuff's never really bothered me, I
don't
guess.
really care. And I'm part of the problem because I'm buying Skyrim on Switch, and I'm not going to buy Xenoblade Chronicles because I don't care. So
the only time that I was really annoyed was when, like, Call of Duty was selling a lot more than Titanfall. And I'm going, I was just about to go, but this is like this is a better game. What are you doing? Even the campaign's better now. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this happens every year with PES and FIFA. You know, you want everyone to get back into PES.
It's true.
The millions are buying FIFA.
It's true.
All the stuff around DMC Devil May Cry had me on tilt. I was just like, you guys are fucking all crazy.
Yeah. I need to buy PES this year because John has been bugging me about playing that game, and Millwall in it. They're in it. So, you know what I mean? That's a sale. Right, okay.
Athene Allen says, I bought a Mario onesie over the weekend. See picture. What is the most ridiculous bit of game tat that you bought?
Huh. Tamoor, you must have something for this.
I've got a Zarya hoodie, which is quite good. That's pretty much it. I don't usually spend money on insane stuff. The Zarya hoodie is like the most obviously gaming related thing I've purchased in a while because it's like her colored, so it's like turquoise and pink and all colors that I do not look good in. But yeah, that's about it.
I had a Nintendo keychain, but Chen made me take it off because she said it made me look like a loser. Which was
what was the keychain?
It was one of those like NES controller ones.
Oh god, yeah, no, that is bad.
Is an absolute savage, and I love it.
That is a bit cringe. I remember when we were doing Joypod, someone bought me one of those mouse mats where it was Kasumi from Dead or Alive, but the wrist rest was her breasts.
What happened to that, Dave?
It went in the bin. I mean, thanks for sending it to me, and I kept it around for a while, but like Yeah, that went
Do you
in the bin.
remember-
You didn't take it to work.
I'd worn it out.
Do you remember for your
Want it
birthday one
now.
year I bought you that ironic Nintendo, what was it, like Nintendo Rehabilitation Clinic hoodie?
Oh, the Nintendo. Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, I wore that hoodie for
Yeah.
ages. I
You
think
didn't
I've
leave the
still
house
got
with
it.
though, did you?
No,
No, I was
oh
gonna
god,
say,
no.
yeah.
But it was
Takes
a really
Joe too
comfortable
far.
hoodie. Yeah, I loved it. Joe used to wear it as
it
well.
wasn't for her.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, X-Ben Blaster X says, with Forza...
What is that username?
I know.
What was it again?
X-Ben Blaster X.
That is quality.
Chucking your real name into like gibberish. Like either go full gibberish or the real name. Don't go halfway. It's never a good look.
With
God.
With Forza Gran Turismo and Need for Speed delivering disappointing entries to the series this year, what racing series would you like to see get a redirection? Well, obviously it's Burnout,
Yeah,
but
Sega
what else?
Rally.
Oh god, Sega Rally Burnout are two very good shouts. Project Gotham
Yeah,
Racing
that'd be good.
Oh yeah.
would be good, but that'll never happen because, you know,
Well, they're dead, aren't
Microsoft,
they? Yeah.
they've
Bring
got
back Blur.
Forza. What was that?
Bring back Blur.
Blur would be good.
Or Juiced.
Stop talking
No,
about
not
juice.
Every episode, James, we're sick of it.
It's
I respect
non-stop
that.
about juiced.
You know what? Motorstorm was alright for a bit.
Well, isn't that sort of coming back?
Is it?
Well, that's what the
Yeah.
IP looks Motorstorm-ish, doesn't it?
From the
guess.
people that made Motorstorm, they're
Yeah,
bringing
I
out
guess.
a Motorstorm game. S-game.
Does SSX Tricky count as a racing game?
Oh, mate, honestly, it makes me sick how they nailed Tricky, and then everything that's come out since has just not
Yeah.
been. Let's make it open world. Let's not. Let's make a really good snowboarding racing game.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
that was
a-
so good. That game.
A good remake of Tricky would be fine by me.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Or-
Definitely.
Or F-Zero, obviously. That would be nice.
F-Zero, of course, is top of the list.
Yeah.
Absolutely top of the list. I don't think that's what he was going for. He was going for more serious sort of racing games because, let's face it, those games aren't dead. But,
Crash Team Racing.
Definitely. Diddy Kong Racing.
Sonic R, please.
Sonic R2, yeah. Diddy Kong.
Diddy Kong, yeah.
Sonic R2.
And that's
D2.
it. We're done.
Glad that's clarified.
James was about to admit that the listeners have gone down. The listening figures have gone down. The show's falling apart. He held himself back. Tamoor, thank you so much for coming on this week. We really
Anytime.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks for
you.
that. Have you got anything to plug? Have you got a website that you write for that you want to talk about?
Just go to Gamespot.com and just click a few links.
Click a few links,
Fine.
click all the adverts.
Yeah, click every single advert on the front page. Just do that for me.
And then just constantly
Right.
refresh the site just for a
Yeah.
day. If everyone does that,
Yeah,
figures will
they're
be
doing
through the
alright.
roof.
yeah.
I
we
think they
should.
need
I
We'll
think they need
probably
to-
be alright if you ask. Yeah, if I'm honest, we'll probably be alright.
I think they need a leg up. We all do. It's fine.
Matt, do you want to do the social stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be streaming Dark Souls this coming Sunday at 9. So go to twitch.tv/the computer game show and get following us for that. I'm dreading it, but
I
it's gonna
can't
happen.
wait for that. I'm
I'm
totally
genuinely
watching
dreading
that.
it, but
That's going to be
it is
fantastic.
what it is. But yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter. We're at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. If you want to follow us there, we'll obviously be tweeting when the streams are going live. James, as he said earlier, is going to be streaming a few episodes of Beyond Two Souls this week. So yeah, find out when we're doing that on the Twitter. And we're on all other podcast services, of course. So leave us an Apple Podcast review. Why not? That'd be lovely.
Thanks for living it. We'll catch you next week with another guest. Have a lovely week. We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.